Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing the frustrating book tag, which is one that some of my booktube friends, Megan, Walker, and Andrew had all done. So I wanted to jump on the bandwagon and do this one as well, because I enjoyed all of their videos a lot. I will link all three of their videos down in the description, but with that, let's get into it. So the first question is, name a book you predicted would be 5 stars and wasn't. This, unfortunately, for me was very easy because the one that I always think of is Kings of the Wild. That had 5 stars for me written all over it, everything I heard about it, the premise. And I think honestly what happened is it was just kind of overhyped for me. I expected a lot more than I got and didn't really realize that it was pretty different. And so that was a lot of it just me having too high expectations on the book. But it definitely did not end up being a 5-star for me. I still liked it, but I was more like in the 3-star range is kind of where I ended up. Number 2, what book had a great beginning but an ending that let you down? For this one, because let's just keep the controversy rolling, I picked Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. Kings of the Wild is Nicholas Eames. I don't think I said, but most people have probably heard of it. But anyway, so book that started out good and then let me down in the ending. That was Last Argument of Kings and kind of the First Law trilogy in general. I really liked book 1. Book 2 was fantastic. Book 3, after the high of Before They Were Hanged, I'm like, this is going to be great. And then it kind of just slowly got to an ending that just let me down in a lot of ways. Felt like some characters had wasted ends, and just the whole idea of not getting any satisfaction from the ending, which I know apparently is somewhat intentional, it just didn't work for me. Or maybe it worked too well because I just did not enjoy the ending of that book. Number 3, do you have a book with a pretty cover but an ugly spine? I don't think so. The only thing I could think of for ugly spines specifically would probably be like the ones that are damaged. I guess the closest thing I can think of, let's do this. So I have these 3 books, which are the Dragon Slayer trilogy, and they have very, very plain spines, but like really nice looking covers. I've showed these off in a couple of videos because these were absolutely a cover buy for me. Get them kind of back in there. But yeah, those ones just are pretty plain. I mean, like, I have some others that are fine, but I don't really pay that much attention to, I guess, a spine being ugly. I mean, most of them are fine. Some are plain, some aren't, but I don't really have a lot of problems with them. Number 4, do you have a book series that doesn't match? So many. I have a lot because I buy a lot of books used. The 2 that immediately come to mind are probably Discworld, because I have quite a few of the newer mass market paperbacks, but then I also have some of the smaller mass market paperbacks, and then I also have just a couple, or at least one of the UK paperback, different cover, different style, and then, you know, at some point, like, they started making them all kinds of different sizes and styles, and so my Discworld collection is a mess, but once again, oh, I made a mess of Discworld. I'll have to put it back later. Buying used, especially when it's a 40-book series, it is what it is. The other one that comes to mind, where it's very, very different, is my Thomas Covenant series, because I originally bought this box set that my Half Price Books just had, which I thought was pretty cool, and I had never read the series. I didn't know if I was going to like it. I really did like it, and so I ended up buying the second trilogy in the old mass market paperbacks, one of which is slightly taller as well, a little different there. So these are completely different. And then I have 3 out of the 4 of the final Covenants I got on Book Outlet, which are also different size and shape, and one of them is noticeably taller. So yeah, my Thomas Covenant collection's a bit of a mess as well. It's I guess again it is what it is. Getting most of them cheap or used. It's I want the books. I really like the books to match, but if I can't always get that, it's what happens. Let's see. Number 5. Is there a book from your youth that you can remember parts but cannot remember the name or find anywhere? There 100% is, and I still remember a scene where I'm pretty sure it was like young hero type protagonist, and they were going on some sort of quest, and at one point they like fall into a pit, and there's possibly a troll that is giving them riddles to solve in order to be released. I have no idea what it is. I thought it was Chronicles of Prydain, which is up here, because I hadn't read Chronicles of Prydain in over 20 years when I read it. I was very young, some of the first fantasy I read, and it was not. I kept waiting. I'm like, maybe it'll be in the next one. It never was. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I dreamed it. If you know from that very brief description of one scene that's been in my head for the last 20 odd years, let me know. I'd love to go back and read and figure out what book that is. It would be awesome. Number 6. Are there any books you've read but cannot remember anything about? That would probably be almost anything by Anne McCaffrey, because I've read a lot of Anne McCaffrey when I was a kid, because Anne McCaffrey's books are always in the public library where I lived, and there was very, very few options for fantasy that I had when I was young. I had to borrow from either my school library or the public library. I lived in a small town, so neither one of those had a ton of books. So I read a ton of Anne McCaffrey, and I don't remember much. I remember, I think like the first one, I remember a little bit more clearly, but a lot of them, I feel like, don't hate me for saying this, I feel like a lot of them felt very similar. So I think a lot of Anne McCaffrey books just kind of blended in my mind, and it's been so long since I've read them. So that really comes up as something I know that I've read, and I just don't really remember a lot of details on, because it's been so long. So maybe I'll reread some at some point. Number 7, have you ever recommended a book you love to someone and they started telling you everything they don't like about it? So your first issue is I know very few people who read, and so I definitely am always happy to loan people books, but it's also like hard to find people that want to read. The closest thing I can think of off the top of my head is I loaned out my copy of Gardens of the Moon to somebody one time, and they just immediately said the names were too weird and they didn't want to read it, which I thought was an odd complaint because they're not that weird. But, you know, if they had a problem with that, they probably were going to get through the series anyway. But that's really all I can think of. I don't know. I'm sure I definitely have had people, I've recommended books on BookTube, and then they've read it, and then like, you're terrible and I don't agree with you, and unsubscribed. So that happened. Viewers, have I ever recommended something really highly that you just simply didn't like? Let me know. I'd be curious to see. But yeah, I can't really think of anything else at this point. Number 8, what is your worst experience loaning a book to someone? So I've had never getting book back damaged. I had to completely stop loaning books to my father because he would just like mash down the spines and like crease them all out, and it made me cringe so hard, and it was painful. Probably otherwise was this copy of Eye of the World, the old Barnes & Noble like leather bound one that you can't even get new anymore and is like really expensive. I didn't know at the time. I loaned it out to somebody because it was my only copy of Eye of the World, and didn't get it back for like 7 months and thought I was never going to see it again. And so it was really nice to get it back, and I will never loan it out again. I'll get a different copy of Eye of the World if I need to loan out Eye of the World, because I want people to read Wheel of Time, but I want my nice pretty book. Number 9, show me some of your impulse buys that you've bought but never read. I mean, man, there are so many. I buy too many books. That's been a problem of mine for quite a long time. So I'm just going to, I mean, like, some of them are newer, but I mean, I can find all kinds of books around that I just haven't bought yet. Some I even have full series of, which probably makes it worse. But, you know, here, for example, I bought The Once and Future King, which I also might have read and don't remember. I'm not sure. and The Riddle Master, two kind of classics that I've never read, I don't think. I'm not entirely sure when I'll get to, but they were there. I got this copy of the first three Jared books by Stephen Brust, an author I've never had, just because it was a good deal and, you know, it couldn't help. And heck, even though the ones I showed the covers of, those were an impulse cover buy, along with Legends of Dragon Realm, because once again, dragons are cool, and this was a cool cover, and I liked it so much. I am trying to be better about buying so many books, which question 10 will tell you, because it's how many unread books do you have on your shelves? Too many. I am working on it though. I have a lot. I remember counting, and I do definitely own over 200 books, and there's quite a few I haven't read. I'm trying to slow down and get less so that I can keep up and keep reading. The last year, I have read a ton of books. And so I'm trying to kind of cycle through. A while back, I kind of unhauled some of the books that I'd had for years that I was probably never going to read. I used to just wherever I could find any books, you know, like thrift stores or anything like that, garage sales, I'd just pick them up because I didn't have access to a ton of different books at the time, you know, when I was younger. So I'd kind of accumulated some. And at this point, I have so many books, and being on BookTube means people are always recommending me books. So I'm always getting more, but I'm trying to keep up. So too many, but I'm working on it to sum that up. But that is the frustrating book tag. Like I said, check out the videos I linked in the description for the three people who did this one and made me want to do it. If you're watching this and want to do it, definitely do it. It's a pretty fun tag to talk about some books you're frustrated about, and then be frustrated with yourself when you talk about how many books you have that you haven't read. So make sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Check out the link also in the description for our Discord if you want to join and talk more about books. And of course, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of my content.